I am all about talking about emotions and how you feel. And
Right.
if you don't like something, please tell us.
Something that I also need to be asking myself too is, are the rooms that I'm in or not in, do they align up with any of those things?
Yeah.
Right. If you take the letters and the word listen, and you spell the word silent, it's those same letters.
It's the same letters.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the L3 Perspective. We're dropping them on season 2. Happy to be here. It's been a little bit of a break, but we're excited to continue to execute. We have a great lineup of guests. But welcome back again to L3 Perspective. We talk about life, love, leadership. We're very intentional about that. It's a lot of value, a lot of missed conversations that are being had at the tables regarding those 3 things, and they impact us in every realm of life. So with that being said, Cam, I'm going to toss it over to you. Looking forward to talking today.
Season 2, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, if you're rocking with us for the first time, I always say this, you're going to hear it. Like, love, subscribe, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, because at the end of the day, we do this for you all, for our listeners. We try and bring an experience that not only educates, but also uplifts. And so that is why we have our particular guest on today, Sanyika Streets, because I believe he is one of the embodiments that I have seen in today's culture of really leading not only your business but your family. And as he'll talk about, that's particularly where he's at, how he helps people. I found him on Facebook. I think someone had recommended probably about 8 months ago, hey, you should follow him because he's uplifting and he speaks to a lot of the things that you and Glenn and other people talk about when being a strong man, leading your household, leading your business. And I've been nothing but awed by the things that he's doing in our community. And so with that being said, my brother, what's up? Appreciate you spending time with us today and helping us with season 2, man.
Indeed. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And thank you for having me. Thank you for having me kick off season 2. And life, love, and leadership is definitely the lens through which I see the world. So yeah. I am very grateful to be in an environment with like-minded individuals that are speaking the same language, that are talking the same talk, and hopefully we can get some people who are walking the same walk.
Absolutely. That's
for sure, man. So if you wouldn't mind, tell our listeners a little bit more about you and what you do.
One of the things I heard when you were sharing about the idea of being a leader in your business and being a leader in your family is before anything, before any of those 2 things, I find it paramount to be a leader of yourself.
Facts.
And when I talk to guys about the idea of what it means to go all in, and the idea of commitment, you are number one on a ultimate level. You are committing to being a leader of oneself, and that is the ultimate form of leadership. So for me, what I do is I help men to literally raise the bar in every area of their life. In their family, in their fitness, in their finances, and ultimately so they can achieve a greater sense of freedom. And one of the things that I have seen countless times is the truth reveal itself that many men who would love to be free are not free.
Yeah.
And so it's really a journey to freedom, to ultimate freedom. And the foundation of freedom is going all in. And just for the record, the all in stands for alignment. And the IN in all in stands for integrity. And if you are out of alignment, it is very difficult for you to honor your word, including to yourself. And the greatest sense of lack of alignment is when a man cannot trust himself. He projects his lack of trust of self on the world. So then the world becomes the reflection of his lack of trust within himself. So my journey in this world is to initiate men into a greater form of self-trust, so you can be a leader of yourself and your family and in your business.
Yeah.
So in that order.
I love it. I love it.
Told you.
Yeah. I very much so can appreciate all the work that you're doing and leading from, with all of that, because there's so many broken individuals, but specifically there's so many broken men
Yeah.
who don't have an example, who don't have um, the resources are there as far as at the fingertips with the technology, but as far as like they don't have a lot of true examples. I was sitting on a men's like a men's panel recently, and that was kind of one of the topics as far as like just dealing with trauma. And I know just kind of from experience of I am who I am because of going through that. But you know, me raising three boys, if I can give them and help them navigate through some of my obstacles earlier, I find that is very important, that they don't have to wait till they're now 30 to actually, oh, okay, cool. Things make sense in life now. They can get that at 10, if they can get that at 6 or 19, I feel like I've already won as a father, just in that area. And so, yeah, man, I definitely take my hat off to you, and everything that you're doing and executing, and not just kind of being a man of ideas.
I love that, Glenn. Thank you for that, man. I want to speak to that, the trauma component. And I say this with a great level of intention. Sometimes I hear people say, "I want my kids to have a better life than me," and I don't. I don't want my kids to have a better life than me. There's a few reasons. Number one, what quantifiable metric are you using to determine whether or not their life is better than yours?
Right.
Number one. Number two, if you have navigated through tremendous amounts of trauma in your life, if you have been the one in your family to navigate through what you have navigated through, it makes you the one.
Right.
Yeah.
You have succeeded.
Yeah.
You have gone through the idea of initiation in this and we'll talk about it more, but that you've gone through an initiation. You've come out on the other side.
Yeah.
And many of our kids will not have to necessarily go through the initiation that we had to go through.
Right.
So how in the world could they have a better, you've made it. You did it. You accomplished it. The abuse, the hurt, the pain, all of it, you navigated through it. For the percentage of men that were sexually abused, for the percentage of men that have gone through environments where their father never literally looked them in the eyes and told them that he loved them. You navigated it. You made it through, right? So that's the second one. The third one is when I hear men pass the baton of their dreams to their kids and say, "I've given up on my dreams. You take it from here. You live a better life than me." I'm like, look, I want those little motherfuckers, my kids. I want those little motherfuckers to have. I want them to see me living the best life that I could possibly live.
Right.
Yeah.
You said being an embodiment, not a guy of ideas. You damn straight.
Yeah.
I want them to see it. I want them to see me living in my best life.
Yeah.
I want them to see me optimizing my physical health. I want them to see me moving and growing a powerful business that operates from a place of service. I want them to see me loving my wife. I want them to see me doing all those things. And then I want them to get to be in a space where they're like, damn, dad is living his best life.
Right.
And so it's then their responsibility to identify what their best life could be, so that they can then live into it. It is not a matter of comparing whether or not theirs is better than mine, but the idea is that they get to live into the life, they get to live into a possibility that I embodied and modeled for them. And so those are the 3 points I just wanted to share to what you were saying, Glenn. And you have 3 kids. Cameron, how many kids do you
have? 6 total.
Yes, I have 3 boys, 1 girl.
Got 3 boys, 1 girl. And I have 2. Right. So I have two. I have a 2-year-old earthquake and a 12-year-old hurricane. So every day I know what the weather report is.
Yes. I can
I know
definitely
what
relate.
I don't need to tune into no weather on my phone. I know what the weather report is every day. Right.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that when you are living into, like, as a representation of who we get to be as men
Yes.
for our families, we get to show up in a way that like the I was an uninitiated man. I was the guy who was full of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I was an ideas guy.
Mm.
Right. So when you say that, it it viscerally resonates in my body about
Right.
what the transformation in me had to be to go from being an ideas guy
Yeah.
to being a guy that executes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It takes something. It's different.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. It's a different
Mm-hmm.
type of person. And so I'm more than happy to get into that journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son said something interesting last night. We were talking. I asked whenever the kids get around the table, we ask, how was your day? What did you learn? What is an act of kindness that you saw, and what is an act of kindness that you gave? And my son's the youngest one, and love him to death. He's also the most innocent one. But I said my job as your father is to be one of your teachers. And he's like, "Oh, Dad, you're not a teacher."
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because my daughter was like, "Dad's job is to teach you how to be a man."
Mm.
And I was just like, first of all, I was happy Abby said that. I was like, "Oh, my dog." And you could see him like digest it, like. And I was like, "Your teacher's there to teach you algebra and math. My job is to teach you how to survive,
Mhm.
and to help guide you as much as I can."
Mhm.
But I don't think I have ever talked about, like you're saying, I want my kids to have a better life than me. I think I've always just said I want to make sure I provide the tools for them to cross whatever oceans and journeys that they have to cross, because it is different. I grew up only child, single mother, no father around. That's not their same burden. Right now my son's burden is broccoli and cucumbers. And it hurts my soul because I'm like, oh, this is the battle that, like, God, there are so many people that wish that was their only battle. But obviously he's 6 years old, so those conversations come later. But you're right, as far as like who are we to decide if our kids did make it better? If we should be a testament every day to how we are providing them the best environment that we possibly can, and being an example to our kids. And I think, in my opinion, where a lot of parents fail in some form or fashion is, a lot of people say, like, oh, they're kids, they don't know.
Mm.
Well, your job is to help them know. Your job is to hold children accountable. Like, obviously, you're not going to go crazy on them, but they need to know that their actions have consequences. For instance, the cucumber thing. My son hates vegetables. I'm trying to get him, but I said, okay, how about this? What vegetable would you like? And
Mm.
he said, I would like cucumbers. And I said, all right, cool. And so, after a long day, my wife comes home and I was like, oh, we got to go to the store. I told Mateo that we would have cucumbers for dinner tonight. And as a man of my word, we will have cucumbers.
Mm.
So we went to the store, got the cucumbers, and he still threw a fit that night. But I told him, I said, hey, when daddy asked you, what would you like for a vegetable? You said cucumbers. And I made a promise to you that I would provide those, which I
Mhm.
did. You, however, also promised me that you would not give me slack to eat those cucumbers. Does that seem fair to you? And he was just like, well, no. And I was like, you need think about that lesson, my son. Now go
Yeah.
brush your teeth and go to sleep.
Right.
But I there, like I wholeheartedly agree with, there's a level of accountability as parents, fathers, especially that I think a lot of people just aren't holding themselves to, and or don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The don't know part is the um, where the leadership part kicks in.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, there is I appreciate that context around, the idea of, accountability with your 6-year-old, and obviously he's 6, right?
Yeah,
So he doesn't necessarily have a context for what accountability is.
for sure.
And I would say that generally speaking, there's a significant amount of people that don't have a context for what accountability is.
Definitely.
And so the opportunity that I see is from a leadership perspective, and one of the biggest distinctions that I talk about, and I talk about a series of them. But our journey into what I like to call true masculine leadership is our ability to lead people. And so I was actually having a conversation about what leadership actually is. And many people say it's going first. Many people say it's, one of the values that the primary values that I believe in is radical responsibility. So many people think of those contexts. And I was like, leadership is directional. Where are you starting? Where are you going?
Right.
Like, where am I leading you to? Tell me. And so we were talking about leadership, and we got to the place where I explained to him is we start in a state of I don't know, right? And that is unconsciousness, unawareness. And so in the state of unawareness, so what we are, that is point A, is the lack of awareness. It's not a judgment on any individual based on where you are at. It is just saying that there are aspects of yourself that you are unaware of, self included, even in this moment right now, at this point, period, regardless of what it is that I think I know.
Yeah.
So unawareness. And so that unawareness is a disempowered state. And what we are leading someone to is an what? Empowered state.
Right.
We're leading someone to an empowered state. So what a disempowered state looks like is lack of vision, lack of intention, lack of awareness. It looks like complaint. It looks like blame. It looks like criticism. It looks like judgment. Those are components of a disempowered state. I'm also saying this because when I say the word about complaint, people go, "Well, I don't complain," and I actually have a counter view on that. I actually think it's important to hear yourself complain. Sure. I think it's important to hear your complaint.
Yeah.
I don't think it's important to stay in your complaint, but I think it's important to hear it. I think you need to hear what you're complaining about, so that you can get into the awareness of what's happening. Because what complaint and blame and judgment and criticism are doing is they're supposed to happen. They're supposed to do something, but people don't know what to do with it. And that's the challenge. So they don't know what to do with the blame. They don't know what to do with the complaint. They just go, I'm complaining. I shouldn't be complaining. And now I'm punishing myself for the fact that I'm complaining. Right?
But I don't know how to get out of the cycle.
But I don't know how to get out of the state. Right? I call it the self-punishing paradigm. Right? Yeah. You come to an awareness about something that you should be doing. You get mad at yourself for doing it, and then you get mad at yourself for getting mad at yourself. So the opportunity is that when you hear the complaint, when you hear the judgment, when you hear the criticism, the work in your leadership is to be able to shift from a disempowered state into an empowered state. Like that's what we're doing, is that we're shifting from a disempowered way of being to an empowered way of being. And our work is not, you don't get rid of being in a disempowered state. We all enter into disempowered states. It's a component of our existence on the planet. It's supposed to be that way. The people who are in mastery are the people who shift the quickest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I am in frustration about when I go, my wife made me angry, and then I come to the awareness that that's me blaming her, and then I go, oh, she's not making me angry, right? I am angry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I am angry.
Yeah.
And there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
And one of the most important things one of the first things that I teach, is that communication is not the most important part of a relationship by far. It is definitely not. Without question, it is not. Please wear it on a t-shirt, put it on a billboard, put it on a plane, just driving on flying on the beach. Please tell people that communication is not the most important part of a relationship. Would you like to know what the most important part of a relationship is?
You got my attention, brother.
Got it. Emotional regulation.
Mm.
Emotional regulation, hands down.
Yeah. Because you could be communicating, but if it's volatile,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you may not be aware of what you're communicating.
yeah,
Right. Right. Most people think they know
Right.
what they're communicating, but
yeah,
don't understand how to effectively communicate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Mhm.
so that love, so because here's what it does is one of the things that I teach the guys we work with is something called safe communication. But and so, I teach it as a personal practice, a relationship practice, a business practice, all different types of things like that.
Mhm.
And I practice it myself. And I'll explain it for the audience. But one of the things about safe communication is I was talking to somebody in a leadership group, these CEOs, and he said I was talking about the importance of creating a safe environment for communication. And he said,
Mhm.
well, don't I get to have a safe community? Don't I deserve to have a safe space as well? And I said, yeah. And I'll explain. And so the most important part of cultivating a safe communication practice is your ability to self-regulate.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
most people have not cultivated the ability to self-regulate. So if
Yeah.
you have not cultivated because safety is an inside job.
Right.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
if I come to you, Cam, and I'm like, I need you to create a safe environment for me. Like, that's not your responsibility.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
we self-regulate initially,
Mhm.
and then we co-regulate.
Mhm.
Right. So now I self-regulate, I get my shit together, and then we co-regulate as a result of the fact that I self-regulated. Now the fact that I am in honoring, I am aware of what I am experiencing. I'm just not allowing what I am experiencing to be projected onto you in a volatile way that jeopardizes the safety and the sanctity and the trust of the relationship that we are creating. And that goes to the other
Mhm.
point is that you guys were talking about leadership, is that one of the ways that we build relationship is through leadership and love, right?
Yeah.
So I have to be in the greatest awareness of the way that of how my communication impacts the lives of other individuals. And so for me, the disempowered state, and not in every state of your life, but in different states that may be uh, uh, limiting successful outcomes in areas that you really want to grow, is that journey across that bridge to me is the initiation. And so the idea guy, going back to what you said earlier, Glenn, about the idea guy, is that idea guy who thinks he knows it all, who essentially is walking around with some form of wound around the masculine, wound around trusting men, wound around authority and his own authority, his own power. Is that guy is in deep resistance to his own evolution. And what happens is that when we allow ourselves to be, when you allow yourself to be inspected by high caliber men,
Mhm.
that is the greatest testament to the lineages of the people whose trauma you want to heal.
Mhm.
When you allow yourself to be inspected by men that you deem of high moral integrity and character and honor, when you allow those men to inspect you, to look you up and down, and to say, um, I see greater possibility in you.
Mhm.
I see that you can hold yourself to a higher standard in these areas, and I see that you're crushing it in these.
Right.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's a powerful testament to us becoming the greatest version of the men that we want to become. I'll give you a perfect example. So I'm in a 1 year bodybuilding cycle, right? And um, and somebody asked me, why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I played Division I basketball, but like, I'm 6'8". And I told somebody, they said,
All done.
the and they said, just in your size and your frame, I've always been big and muscular. And he said, well,
Mhm.
why are you, people coming to me, they were like, do you play football? Just, why are you doing this?
Right.
And, one thing is that I tell people is that y'all think that I'm bodybuilder, but I'm actually building a body.
Mhm.
And the body that I'm talking about is, many men say that they want to live a big life.
Right.
But I can look at a man and tell if his nervous system can handle the life that he says he wants. I can tell immediately.
Mhm.
And so, and so what we are doing is we are building a body an energetic, emotional, physical, mental body that has the capacity to hold the life that we say we want.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't energetic. Because are you open to uh, given the fact that you have issues with self-regulation, my brother? It looks like you can't handle criticism.
Right.
Mm.
It seems as though that when people challenge you on different ideas, you are quite defensive. It's and I think that comes across as unfortunate in this instance, right?
Yeah.
And not only do I see it, your wife sees it.
Yeah.
Not only does she see it, your kids see it,
Right.
Yeah.
and your bank account sees it too.
Yeah. It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Domino effect, right? Domino
Yeah.
effect. And so when they get the domino effect, then they go to Domino's.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you know what? Instead of addressing this, well, I can just fucking plant my face plant in some pizza,
Right.
and and be in the avoidance of whatever it is that I'm looking to move through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to give you a real quick context on safe communication. And I'd like to share what I mean by the idea of initiation. But the safe communication is the first. The S in safe communication stands for stoic silence.
Mm-hmm.
It is stoic silence. Like you said, Glenn, you said most guys don't know what they're communicating, and so the stoic silence is that when someone, otherwise known as what I like to call the 3-second rule, is that when someone communicates with me, I wait 3 seconds for whatever they said to land.
Mm-hmm.
I just let what you said land. I let my hearing process it. I let my body process it. I let whatever is going on. I just process it. Under no circumstance are you required to respond to anybody immediately, and that's one of the things about that I experience with some guys is that there's this unspoken impulse to respond to things immediately, and that's where we get ourselves in a lot of trouble, making commitments to things that we can't really commit to, making promises that we can't commit to. So the first thing is, look, give yourself the 3-second rule. Like allow yourself to be in the awareness of just what's happening. Just let it land. Right. The A in safe communication is for acknowledgement. The primary responsibility in an individual who is holding the masculine pole in relationship is to be the space holder. It is my responsibility to be a facilitation for communication and not to tell you about all the shit that's going on with me.
Right.
Like we're in an interview, it's a different context, right?
Yeah.
It's a different context. You guys are asking me questions. I'm sharing information about myself for the audience. So I just want to paint that picture. If we're in a conversation, my job is to hold space, right?
Yeah.
And then when I feel as though I would like someone to hold space for me, I request it,
Right.
right? So I go, Cam, I think I need you to hold space for me around this idea. I really want to work something out. Are you open to that? Great, right? And so it's important to be in that dynamic. So the A is for acknowledgement. It's important to be in the acknowledging of people. The F is a really powerful one. It is frame and then feel. As a masculine leader, it is our responsibility to not immediately go to the emotion that we are experiencing, but to identify the frame through which the lens through which we see the interaction. Like, I'm not just going to come to you, Glenn, and say, Glenn, you made me really upset, right? I'm going to say, Glenn, I really value our relationship. Right?
Yeah.
If I was going to look at any most valuable commodities in the world, gold, bullion, money, anything like that, I would say that gold and all those things are number 2, and our relationship is number 1.
Right.
And in the context or the frame of that relationship and the value of the trust in our relationship, man, I really feel hurt by the way that you showed up in that situation. Right? So I'm speaking to my emotion through a frame that allows you to be able to understand the perspective and the context through which I'm sharing what it is I'm sharing. I'm not just coming to you telling you how I felt. I am framing and then feeling. It is our responsibility as men to lead and lead through context. And so when you provide a powerful frame, the frame is visual. It may have visual elements. You can see the money or the bullion or whatever you want to see. It's based in the values that you hold as a man. right? So that means that if you don't have clearly defined values, if you don't have a clearly defined, the way that you move through the values, standards in terms of the way that you manage and interactions, then that's an opportunity for you to create that big frame so that you can create smaller frames with individuals that you interact with.
Sure.
So the F is for frame, and the E is for exploration. Is that in your leadership, it is your responsibility to ask questions.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
so we ask questions. And so I would tell you, hey, look, what you did, the other day really hurt me. Um, you know, um, why did you operate that way, right? And one of the things, and when I point this to people, and you listen to, and you start listening to it, you'll start catching it. Listen to people as they close communications without questions.
Right.
Just listen, just watch it, see it in email, see it in writing. Right. See how many business owners leave open-ended statements. I tell every member of my team, I say, if we are sending out a communication and we don't close it in a question, and they don't respond, it's our responsibility, not theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So so it's really important to just be in that. So I wanted to paint that picture because the lack of awareness, or the lack of context around communication, or any of those things, are some of the most important things that we get to step into as men, so that we can create a greater possibility in terms of where it is that we want to go. I'm complete on that.
No, that was good. It's funny that you kind of wrapped up with that, because as you were sharing that last bit of that, I was thinking of a conversation I had with a guy earlier today, and it stemmed around like there's a difference between a manager and an effective leader, right? And so we were kind of talking about the concept of starting with why, right? And so he's in a leadership position, and so he has a team of people. And I said, well, listen, so let me use your guys as an example. If you go to one individual and say, so they're doing maintenance, hey, I just need you to go hop on top of the roof and just go fix the roof, right? And that's it. That's all the direction you give them. Versus, you bring your team in and say, hey, we're continuing to expand, right? This is the headquarters building, so we want to make sure we're going to have a lot of people coming in and out. We want to make sure that this sets the bar from how people see who we are from the outside looking in, right? So one of the things that we have to do is focus on this project as far as going upstairs to actually fix up the roof, paint it, kind of doctor it up. And I said, there's a difference in both of those deliveries, right? You communicate that one way with lack of vision, lack of understanding, lack of why. Most people, again, they don't embody the ownership.
Yeah, they'll just do it.
They'll just do it.
Yeah,
because I don't understand like why I do what I do, right? And so versus
minimum.
versus giving them an overall concept, like you're not just, at the end of the day, the marker is still the same. However, the delivery and how you get to that marker, you can alleviate some of those obstacles. Some of the time spent on having to navigate through those conversations of like, why am I telling you to do the same thing? Well, why? Because I didn't give you clear guidance and communication. And so, so as a man, I think that what you said was very, very important for a lot of our listeners to really understand. So if you are a man and you're in a leadership position, or will be, whether it's family, whether it's business, whatever the case is, like that is a key concept. While you say communication is not the biggest piece of it, it ties into everything that you just said. And so I appreciate you highlighting that, because even just from a father perspective, from a husband's perspective, and from a leadership perspective, is like that acronym stands true to everything.
Yeah, well, I think we've created, and society's created this like framework where it's just get it done, don't get it done well. Like, because with how quick deliverables can happen and all these other things, like our children are growing up in a society where it's just like, oh, just get it done as absolutely fast as you can. The quality is really irrelevant, and in reality, it's like, no, the quality is that's the pudding, that's the sweet spot right there, and it starts, when you're teaching, like I said, when you're teaching people. I like to use my children as an example because I have so many. When they do something, I'm like, hey, let's not just get it done, let's do it well. And it's okay if it takes multiple times to learn how to do it well. No one's expecting you to do it well the first time. But like you said, question wise, if you don't know how to clean a dish, just ask and I'll show, and I have no problem showing you, but we can't get to a place where things are getting done efficiently, but also getting done at a high quality if we're not, like you said, asking questions and being transparent about, because it's like an ego thing. People don't like to ask questions. They don't want to feel like they don't know what they're talking about. And it's
For
like,
sure.
you didn't know how to walk until
Mhm.
no one thought you were a stupid baby.
Right.
You know, and we almost, in that, I like to always say, like, I'm not getting old, I'm staying young, because I try and remember what it was like to be a kid all the time, which is, asking questions and and failing and learning and just keep it moving, because life will go on.
Mm.
As a father, husband, leader, regarding the initiation, uh, like was there an event that happened to you or a thought process when you were like, hey, this is kind of the lane that I want to be very, very intentional with, and be able to impact and affect so many people?
Was there a signature or like a keystone moment that
Right. Yes.
spurred me into this? I think there was a series of them. But at the outset, Cam Anglin, let's see, 2015, March 2015. That's 8 years ago. Dude, I was in a rock bottom sandwich, man.
Mm.
Mm,
I was in a rock bottom sandwich. I call it a rock bottom sandwich because I was already at rock bottom, and then rock bottom smashed on top of me. So I was like an Oreo
Mm.
cookie, and I'm the filling.
Gotcha.
I am
Mm.
financially
yeah.
broke. I was emotionally broken. I was, two DUIs. My girlfriend was paying the bills. I was 40 pounds overweight.
Mm,
I didn't even know what leadership meant, and leadership in any situation. I had no
Mm.
idea,
mm,
and I was drowning. And I knew that I needed to make a change for myself. I knew something needed to happen in my life. And
yeah.
I was like, I got wind of an opportunity in San Diego to move to San Diego and take a sales job. And because I heard my friend was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, we're making 10, 20 grand a month. And I had never made that much money in my
Mm.
life.
Right.
I was making $11 an hour working at a reverse phone lookup company, talking to old women who got their money taken from them by guys on dating
Wow.
websites.
Ugh.
Mm.
So I went from doing national TV shows when I first moved to LA, and commercials and all that other kind of stuff, and movies, to basically hiding.
Mm,
And at that point, I was like, I need something. So I got the. It started in that moment. The first little sort of flashpoint was that moment. I said, man, I need to make some actions. Went down, interviewed for the job. I got the job. It was commission only. I mean, I was,
yeah.
they either gonna keep you or not.
Right.
And it was, so I got the job. I immediately transitioned from, in a month and a half, my first 2 weeks were training. We were doing a debt elimination product. And in my first month down there, full month, which was December, I got there November 15th of 2015. In my first full month in December, out of 28 reps, I was the number 2 salesperson in that whole place.
Mm,
I was like, I'm gonna open up this place. I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna study the script. I'm gonna live like a college student. I was staying with my cousin's aunt. I had never met her before. She was staying in her son's room, and I was like, I'm gonna live like a college student, and that's exactly what I was doing. And I was fighting for my life. You know, I was like, I'm different than all you other people in here. Y'all have jobs. I'm fighting for my life.
Right.
mm-hmm.
And what I have realized is that the opportunity, so for me, there was environmental urgency, right? No money, my health wasn't in great condition. I wasn't in a
Mm.
good, just emotional place.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things about the initiation process and is that was like the beginning of my initiation. And for anyone who doesn't know what an initiation is a rite of passage for men, right? It is a rite
Yeah.
of passage for men. And historically, throughout life, we as men had to rise into greater responsibility in our lives, right?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that you rise into greater responsibility is by being given the gift of being challenged.
Yeah.
Challenge is a gift, and many men have reject the gift, right? They just call it challenge and say, I'm being challenged, I'm dealing with challenges, but they don't choose the challenge. And so in that moment when I went to San Diego, I chose the challenge and I embraced it. And I said, this is going to be the place where I rebuild myself. And it's exactly what I did. And slowly, but surely, through process and through stepping in more and more, I chose the challenge. I chose the challenge of relationship. I chose the challenge of being a steward and a custodian of a bonus son at 7 years old. I chose the challenge of of rising as a business owner. I chose the challenge of stepping up in terms of my level of impact. And the more and more I see men, the guys who go through our programs, the guys who go through what it is that the initiation weekend that we create for leaders and husbands and fathers, the more and more I see guys go through this process, the more and more I realize there are a lot of men who are resistant. The same way to questions, right? Asking questions can. Same way to asking questions is that when a man chooses to surrender to the idea that if he allowed himself to be challenged, he could see a greater possibility in his capacity to live into the life that he said that he wanted. And the only thing that he really needed was just to be challenged.
Yeah.
It's like, you go to somebody and say, are you going to be a millionaire? And you're like, I don't really know if I want to be a millionaire. And I go, Glenn, you think you could do it? I'm not sure you could do it. You think you could do it? Right? Do you think you could do it? You might have it in you. What if I gave you 2 years to do it? What if I gave you 2 years to do it? What if I gave you the tools? No money, just the techniques, skills, the human techniques and skills to make you as resourced as you needed so that you could be a millionaire in 2 years.
Right.
Because that's what you need, right? And the wherewithal and the support system and the network and then all of a sudden, then it goes, oh, maybe I could do this kind of, then you start thinking about it, but there's no reason to step into a greater possibility. You know what I'm saying? Like, the same thing with me and this whole bodybuilding thing. And my coach in this process, he challenges me every day, Sometimes I'd be in the middle of a set and I got to tell him to stop challenging me in the middle of a set. But I'm like, he'd be he'd be barking at me in the middle of a set, you know what I'm saying? And he half my size. And I'm just like, but he's trying to get the most out of me,
Right.
Yeah.
He's trying to get
the challenge one.
Right. So he wants to get the most out of me because that's what I'm there for. I'm there to be challenged. I chose into it. I chose in on this initiation. And, in this process, there's 3 parts to an initiation. There's separation, where you separate the man from his current environment. There's the transition, or what we like to call the challenge. It is the process through which a man is gifted challenges to go through. And then there is the reincorporation, or what we like to call exit strategy, right? So the reincorporation, so the man goes through the challenge, he succeeds in the challenges, and then he comes through the other side. And now it's like, okay, well, how do I get back into the life or into the world? What do I take with me into the world? So those 3 components of initiation are really important, and initiations have been practiced in history for hundreds of thousands of years. And the opportunity that we as men have to go through initiations is that the idea guy says, I don't think I can do a bench press 155 pounds, but the only way that you would know if you could bench press 155 pounds is if you bench press 150 and then somebody added 5 pounds. Is if you added more weight. So you have to be willing to take on more weight to see how much you can carry. And we use our brain. Our brains are these powerful tools that psych us out of the belief that we can carry more weight. They say, oh, you know what? I can't be a parent. I can't be a parent. There's no way. I don't have enough time. Right.
Yeah.
I can't optimize my health. Right. I got to build my business. Right. Right. I can't. There's no way I can be in a relationship. I got to get my shit together. Right. It's like, dude, I'm talking about. There's all types of fucking bullshit that goes around across the board. And the opportunity that I continue to see is our ability to stand for the greatness in every man. I personally stand for the greatness in every single man that is walking this planet, regardless of what journey he is taking. Right? I believe that every man has the opportunity to step into a higher level of his consciousness and his awareness. And many men have not necessarily taken that journey or chosen that path or whatever. And so while I may be in opposition to a man's beliefs or in opposition to what a man stands for, I hold the space to believe that he can transform his life, to be of contribution to society and contribution to the people that he impacts and the people that matter the most. But my responsibility is to be a stand for the men that really want to step up their lives and raise the bar, you know?
Mhm.
So that's the space that I hold, and I hold it with a deep sense of reverence and honor and humility, with the intention to spread this message as far and wide as humanly possible.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sanyika, man, I'm very, very, very grateful to have the conversation, right? Like, I feel like I'm always talking about the seasons of my life.
Mhm.
And I think that with certain aspects or certain things happening within my life, from a father lane, from a husband lane, from a leader lane outside of the home, and even within, uh, I'm a believer that things happen very intentionally and when they happen. And so
Mhm.
I say all of that to just extend my appreciation for this conversation, because as a man who's constantly chasing the next best version of himself, especially as a father, husband, leader, the self mastery piece, again, I applaud you for everything that you're doing, and more so appreciate this conversation that we have. So I definitely look forward to connecting with you more for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I appreciate you, dog. No, I love these conversations. I think it's important,
Thank you
as
for
I
that,
told
Glenn. By the way,
you,
I just want to say that.
to have these to have these conversations, and intentionality, like we talked about, being intentional about not just getting on here and talking and joking is fun and all, but like, what are we bringing to the table to help someone be their best version of themselves? And so as we wrap up, please tell the people where to find you, how I found you,
Along with any final thoughts
along with
as
any
well.
final
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts, and tell people where they can find you, how to connect with you, final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Glenn, for that reflection, and Cam as well. Is really, uh, Cam, when you invited me to be here, I love your frequency. I love what you represent, and I was like, I'm down. So I appreciated you again being the kickoff for this season and season 2. One of the things I really wanted to say that's really been present for me, I wanted to just say this, that this, my wife was talking to our trainer the other day, and she's been in this process with me too. And this bodybuilding process,
Mhm.
building a body, all right? It's not about like going on Mr. Olympia stage. It's about building a body. Right? So she said, we have a 12-year-old who's in Pop Warner. She said, my wife is tall and attractive, and she was like, when people go, when you go to football practice, because our trainer used to be one of the coaches. She said, people talk shit about y'all, she's like, who is she, with this, with this family and this husband or whatever like that. She was telling me that last night. And one of the things that we were talking about is about taking up more space.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about like the idea of taking up more space. Um, uh, my name is Sanyika Mensa Ade Street. Sanyika means leader of his people. It is Nigerian. Somebody said, well, your mother probably had some deeper intuition. I said, absolutely. My Somebody asked me one time, they said, are you born a leader, or do you have to become a leader? I said, it's easy to be born king. Every man has to become a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And part of our responsibility as leaders is to take up more space.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Under no circumstances will you ever see me walk into a room and apologize for the fact that, generally speaking, I'm usually the largest person in the room.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's really important is because along with that comes the deepest form of self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the idea of taking up more space is not volumetric. It's not about like this loud, energy. It's really about the deepest form of self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And then allowing whatever the vibration that it creates in the world around you, whatever it triggers in people around you, like that's the idea of taking up space. And my invitation to the people that are listening to this, men and women alike, is to take up more space
Mm-hmm.
with your self-acceptance. with your deep, unwavering self-acceptance of who you are and the mission that you have been implanted on this in this world to deliver. You've been put here for a reason. You have been initiated through trial. You have been gifted through challenge. You are in a state of awareness that there is a greater possibility, like fighting to get out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just tap into the fact that you accept the human being that has been imparted with this message, that the download has been given to you, and saying, look, you know what, is that you have a calling on this planet, and it is your mission to serve into that calling. And now is the time to do it. That's why I tell guys, I'm like, I have a watch, and at every hour on that watch, it says it's time to go all in. Because now is the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time to step into the greatest version of your calling. And there's a significant amount, and I believe that everybody gets a calling, but not everybody answers the phone. And we get to be men who answer the phone, who step into our greatest calling to take up more space in a deeper form of self-acceptance, so that we can continue, so that we can actually be of service to the world that we're looking to create.
For sure.
I love that.
So those are my final thoughts. For people that wanted to get in contact with me, you can go to, you can find me on Facebook, Sanyika, the Firestarter Street. And you can also go to the All In CEO, THE and check out our next initiations for men and people that men that really want to step up their game and play at a higher level in their family, their fitness, and their finances.
Yep. And we'll have it in the description as well for anybody who's listening, so you can go down and we'll have links to all of his social media. But last thoughts?
Oh man, this was a beautiful conversation. I think that, for me, I'm leaving here with again reflecting on myself. We talked about metrics earlier, like where are you at right now? And all of those categories, leaving outside of the home, even within the home as a father and a husband. How are you willing to go all in even more than what you feel that you've already been doing? And so, yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a great conversation, and it's life, love, and leadership. Like it, love it, share it. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. And we'll see you guys later. Peace.